The hermit of the mountain.
In the heart of a dense forest, atop a solitary mountain, resided a man who had chosen to estrange himself from the world. A figure of mystery, he had opted for a life of solitude, seclusion, and self-reliance. The forest, his fortress of solitude, became his sanctuary, his home, his universe. His dwelling, a humble log cabin, stood as a testament to his choice of simplicity over complexity, nature over artificiality. This man, the hermit of the forest, was a subject of much speculation. The townsfolk, unable to fathom his self-imposed exile, wove tales about him, each more colourful than the last. Some said he was a disenchanted philosopher, disillusioned with the artificiality of society. Others whispered he was a heartbroken lover, seeking solace in the silence of the woods. Yet others claimed he was a fugitive, hiding from some unknown past. Each story an attempt to explain the inexplicable, to make sense of the unconventional. But the forest hermit cared little for these conjectures. He had left behind the hustle and bustle, the clamour and the chaos, for a reason. His life was now the rustle of leaves, the whisper of the wind, the murmur of the brook, and the song of the birds. He found more company in the tall, stoic trees than in the chatter of the townsfolk. He found more wisdom in the silence of the woods than in the noisy wisdom of the world. His days were filled with the simple routine of survival and contemplation. His nights, under the starlit sky, were filled with silent conversations with the universe. Solitude was not his punishment, but his chosen path. His life was a statement, an affirmation, a silent rebellion against the conventions of society. His existence was a question, a challenge to the traditional definitions of success and happiness. Unfazed by the chatter, he remained a silent silhouette against the backdrop of the wild, an enigma to all but himself. Like every tale of transformation, his story too began within the confines of a life deemed normal, a life filled with the hustle and bustle of 9-to-5 jobs, the relentless pursuit of material wealth, the constant chatter of social obligations. But beneath this veneer of normality, he felt an insatiable void, a profound discontentment. His soul yearned for something more, something beyond the ephemeral pleasures and tangible treasures of modern existence. His heart was not in the concrete towers that scraped the sky, nor in the endless sea of faces, each absorbed in their own world of worries and wants. The corporate rat race, the societal pressures, the incessant noise of the city, they were shackles that bound him, a cacophony that deafened his spirit. He found himself longing for silence, for solitude, for serenity. There came a point when he could no longer ignore the call of his heart. He looked around at the life he had built, a life that was a mirror image of millions, and realized it was not the life he wanted. It was a life designed by society, dictated by norms, and directed towards conformity. So, he made a choice that was as audacious as it was alluring. He decided to abandon the life he knew, the life he was expected to lead. He yearned to be free from the chains of convention, to escape the labyrinth of the mundane. And so, he ventured into the unknown, into the embrace of nature, into the heart of the forest. The forest was his refuge, his sanctuary, his solace. It was in this untamed wilderness that he sought to find himself, to discover the essence of existence, to experience the symphony of life in its most raw and unadulterated form. He traded the cacophony of city life for the symphony of the wilderness, the concrete jungle for the primal forest. As the city lights receded in his rearview mirror, the forest beckoned him into its enigmatic embrace. This was the new world that our forest hermit had chosen for himself, a world where he would be the master of his own fate. In this verdant wilderness, his existence was stripped down to the bare essentials. His initial days in the forest were filled with struggles and trials. He grappled with the unyielding forces of nature, learning to build fires, forage for food, and create shelter. The forest did not yield its secrets easily, but the hermit was tenacious. He adapted and began to comprehend the language of his new environment. His daily routine became a testament to his self-sufficient lifestyle. Every dawn he would rise with the sun, perform his ablutions in the nearby stream, and set about collecting wood for the fire, a task that was both meditative and practical. He would then spend his day foraging for food, tending to his small vegetable patch, and maintaining his humble log cabin. The forest was his home, his provider, and his companion. He developed a deep and intimate bond with nature, conversing with the rustling leaves, the gurgling brooks, and the whispering winds. He learned to read the seasons, to predict the changing weather, and to understand the habits of the forest creatures. The forest, in turn, accepted him, and he became a part of its intricate tapestry. His life was not easy, but it was fulfilling. He had no need for the trappings of society, the superficiality of wealth, or the hollow echo of fame. His wealth was the bounty of the forest, his fame, the respect he had earned from the woodland creatures, and his joy, the peace he found in his solitary existence. In this wilderness, he discovered the true essence of life, the beauty of simplicity, and the power of self-reliance. His heart was content, his spirit was free, and his mind was at peace. He was no longer a prisoner of societal expectations or a puppet of materialistic pursuits. In the heart of the forest he found his sanctuary, a haven where he was not just surviving, but thriving. In the eyes of the town, he was an oddity, a man who had traded sanity for solitude. He was a riddle wrapped in a mystery, a solitary figure who had chosen the embrace of the forest over the clamour of society. His name was whispered in hushed tones, his story told and retold, each version more fantastical than the last. To some, he was a fallen tycoon who had lost everything in a gamble of high finance. Others spun tales of a heartbroken lover, fleeing the spectre of lost love. There were whispers of him being a fugitive, hiding from the long arm of the law. Each tale painted him as an enigmatic figure, a character of intrigue and peculiarity. Yet in the midst of this whirlpool of conjecture and speculation, the man himself remained unperturbed. He was indifferent to the rumours, to the tales spun about him. He was unbothered by the labels, the titles thrust upon him, for he had found his peace, his tranquility in the heart of the wilderness. He had traded the chaos of the world for the calming whispers of the forest, the cacophony of society for the serene symphony of nature. His cabin, perched atop the mountain, was his sanctuary, his refuge. It was there he found his contentment, his fulfillment. He was a man who had chosen his path, who had embraced his solitude, and in doing so, found his freedom. In the grand scheme of things, he was a solitary figure, a man who had chosen to step away from the noise, from the rush of the world. He had chosen to exist on the fringes of society, to live on the boundaries of the conventional. In the theatre of society, he chose to be an audience watching the world from the fringes, unbothered by its judgment.
Thank you for listening to English Audio Lounge. We hope you have enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more audio stories and video classes to improve your English.